Good morning, we're back here at Andersen Acres, and today we're going to talk about how to house your chickens. Now we have quite a few chickens here. We have quite a few over there, we've got a bunch over there, and they're all running to the gate because it's one of my sons. So before you get your chickens, you want to set up some appropriate housing for them. There are multiple ways to house your chickens, and I'm going to show you just a couple of them that we employ here on the farm. The first thing you can do not look in there for animals. I'm just showing you what we do use. We use this as a breeding coop. But when we first started, this is where our small group of chickens lived. We started with only a handful of chickens. We have lots more than that now. But they lived in here. This is a prefab coop that we actually bought off of Wayfair, if I remember correctly. You can get them at your local Tractor Supply or your PV Marts or wherever you can buy them, because everyone has different things available in their area. Now, you'll hear some people say you can't use these prefab coops, that they're not strong enough, that they're not good for different weather situations, but they're actually fine. What you have to do is you have to look at the coop you bought, and you may have to reinforce the wire. So when this originally came, the wire wasn't the best quality. See this nice, we have hardware cloth on here now. So I bought hardware cloth and replaced the wire that came on here with a decent hardware cloth. Okay, so we use, that's 1/2 inch hardware cloth right there so that nothing could get to them. Hardware cloth is basically just fancy wire. It's wire. They just call it hardware cloth because it's a little more flexible than your standard wires. It does a really good job at keeping raccoons out. We also bolted it into the ground. These are typically for play structures. There's a cat about to show up in the picture. There she is. But these are, thank you, Gwen. These are typically used to secure play structures. They work really well at securing coops. You'll also notice that we have wire buried underneath. That's so critters can't dig in and eat whoever is in this coop. Right now we use this just as a breeding coop, but it worked perfectly fine for the first 2 years of our hobby farm. Gwen. And no one died, nobody escaped, worked perfectly fine. I do recommend that you paint this because if you look, it is a little bit weathered, and we're going to be painting it this fall. We're already starting. You can see we're changing the color from orange to red to match everything else. If you're wondering what this is, there used to be nest boxes here, but the horse ripped them off because he was mad about something. So we just covered that up and painted it, and it'll be ready to be a breeding coop again in the spring. We don't breed in the fall. So you can absolutely use something like that. If we go over here, I'll show you a couple of our other prefab coops. I have absolutely no problem with them. You may want, there's one right there. You may want to paint them just to keep them looking pretty. So we have our quail in one over here. This one's a little lower to the ground. Our quail at one point were in that other coop that I showed you, but they didn't stay in there for that long because we actually didn't like them in there. We like them out here outside the barnyard where we can hang out with them a little bit more. We have a few quail in there. There's chicken. Ignore my pile of wire. That's my wire scraps for fixing things. And if you come over here, you're going to see this coop has occupants as well. These are younger babies, not quite ready to join the flock. In fact, these two black guys right there aren't even my chickens. They belong to my neighbor. And they're just hanging out in here for the time being. So again, another example of a nice prefab coop. This one I haven't painted, and we've had this since 2019, and it's in fine shape. Nothing's broken. See, nothing's broken. Everything still works. I do replace the latches on them just because I don't think they're strong enough, especially for coops that are outside the barnyard. And if you're wondering what this is, that's just an air freshener. It actually keeps the flies away if you use the vanilla scented little tree fresheners that you get for your cars. They work pretty well. And over here, this coop is empty right now because it's a breeding coop. But see, we painted this one pink and yellow so that it weathers the winters a little bit better. And this coop actually spent last winter completely buried in snow. It emerged unscathed. Forgive my terrible paint job. I don't know, I went crazy on the windows or something. Don't ask. So in addition to actual housing, these are their houses. You need more than that. But I'm also going to show you where the chickens live right now. So we're just going to go back into the barnyard. The majority of our chickens, Silky Rooster. The majority of our chickens actually live in the barn here. So our barn, if you're not in a breeding coop, you as a chicken can just, that chicken is eating a pepper top, you can just hang out in this barn. We have feeders, we have chickens, we have shelves for nesting. That chicken's laying an egg. Yes, I know, I'm not going to bug you, it's fine. So we have nest boxes. That's something you're going to want if you want your chickens to lay eggs. Now there is a chicken in that far nest box, and there's a chicken in another nest box. But for the most part, they lay their eggs up on that shelf. Don't ask. They're picky as all heck. So you're going to want some nest boxes for your chickens to lay on. You're going to want some roosting bars, which we have several. We even have some really up high for the chickens that like to roost nice and high. You are going to need your chickens. Somebody is knocking on something. I don't know why. Probably hear that. They're a little annoyed that I haven't let them out yet. I am going to let them out under supervision once this video is done. They're too small to be let out otherwise. More chickens. So you want your roosting bars, your nest boxes. Roosting bars depend on the type of chicken you have. Some chickens want their roosting bars nice and high. So if you have chickens that like to fly, we often have Sussexes and Leghorns roosting up in the rafters. But we also have much lower roosting bars, a couple of which are broken thanks to the horse. But we have lower roosting bars as well. Even if you're using these little prefab coops, you want roosting bars. So most of them actually come with low roosting bars. But you can always add a few roosting bars if you like. We did have a set of roosting bars for outside. That doesn't work very well. Keep most of your roosting bars inside. They like it better. Nest boxes, you can have them if you like. Ultimately, your chickens will decide whether or not they're laying anywhere. And if you're wondering why we have this gate is to keep the horse and the goats out of the chicken barn. The chickens can still pass underneath it with no problem. And that's because goats and horses should not eat entire bags of chicken feed. It's not good for them. So, all right, so you've got your coop or your barn, however you would like to house your chickens. You're going to put some roosting bars, some nest boxes. You're going to want a waterer. We have this for summer. Right now, no one's drinking out of it because everyone's pretty much free-ranging right now. We'll go and meet some chickens in a few minutes. But we use these kind of waterers for the summertime. In the wintertime, frankly, it sucks here in the winter. It's literally minus 40 for half the year. Got some chickens over there. So when it's minus 40 for half the year, we actually use those big rubber feed pans. The water freezes, we just dump it out. There's a cat drinking water. That is Spot with babies. But we use a rubber feed pan, just turn it over and dump the ice out and refill it with water. It is the simplest way. We've done heaters, we've tried everything else. It really is just easier to replace the water. Hey, pretty, pretty chickens. That chicken right there is named Soot. She's fairly young and a beauty. So feeders, you have different kinds of feeders. You can use any kind of feeder you like. Right now, what we're using is that big metal feeder right there. It holds an entire, 25 pounds of chicken feed at a time. Works really well. You have other type of feeders. I'll show you one that we're not currently using, mostly because we have babies. Unexpectedly, you saw the babies a couple minutes ago. Spot brought babies home. She wasn't supposed to. We thought she was dead. And this particular feeder that I'm about to show you does not work well with little ones. So this feeder is fantastic. It keeps the goats out. It keeps the feed nice and neat. But if you have tiny babies like we do, they go in those holes and die. So if you have little babies wandering around the farm, you might want to switch to something else. Otherwise, I love these feeders. We will put that back in the barn just as soon as Spot's babies are big enough. This is a feeder that we often use for quail. It works really well, nice and small. If you have a large flock, you're going to be refilling it all the time though. It hangs nice and neat. I really recommend you hang it because it gets poop in it if you don't. Elevate your feeders, elevate your waters if you can. Now you may not be able to. That's Phoenix, our very beautiful boy. This is Caramel, old as dirt. So you've got your coop, you've got your roosting bars, you've got your nest boxes. Yes, guys, I will let you out. Shush. You've got your nest boxes, you've got your feeders, you've got your waterers. You're pretty much all set. You don't need much more than that, especially when half of our chickens are in the bush. Ours free range quite a bit. If you do free range in the summertime, let's see if there's anyone over this way. If you free range as a cat, if you free range in the summertime, it'll really cut your feed costs down. They'll go and they'll look for bugs, they'll look for grass, they'll trim your grass down. Spot is back out here. In fact, she's going to show you eating grass. She and her babies, the illegal babies. You were not supposed to do this. Just so you know that. They're a terrible chicken. But they're beautiful babies. I'm not even sure whose eggs they were from. Probably not yours. Anyway, you can see a couple of our chickens are wandering over on the neighbor's septic field eating bugs. That would be Sam and, no, Tigger and Buffman. Sorry, Sam is behind me. That's Tigger and Buffman over there. Sometimes we have a couple of chickens down this way. I don't think we do right now. We have a horse. I have a whole bunch over here. I think I just showed you those two. But once you have your feeders, your waterers, your roosting bars, your nest boxes, and somewhere to keep them safe, some kind of coop or a barn, it can be an old shed. You can use a dog house and put it in a dog run. That keeps them pretty safe. Cat hunting. But you can use basically whatever you have. You don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. You can use stuff you already have. That's Mustache. This chicken is a naked neck, in case you're wondering why she looks like a vulture. She's actually supposed to look like that. Her name is Akosha. So there's nothing wrong with her. She does not have feathers on her neck quite on purpose. That's just her breed. She is a showgirl, cat hunting. So that's about all you need to know about housing your chickens. We have a chicken pretending to die in the sun because she loves the sun. Beautiful. When you see chickens laying like that, they're fine. They're sunbathing. There's nothing wrong with that chicken. She's not dying. She doesn't like that chicken near her babies. Stay away. Those are her children. You stay away. You might want to watch your butt too. Over here we have a couple of partridge silkies. Very beautiful. There's another one. So you have your house, you have your roosting bars, you have your nest boxes, feeders, waterers. You're all set to get chickens. All you need to do is feed them. Feeding them is pretty easy. You can just go to your local feed store, buy chicken feed. You can buy layer if you have mostly laying hens. You can buy grower finisher as more of an all-purpose. Some feed stores have an all-flock that you might want to get. But chicken feed's easy to get. You just buy it at your local feed store and carry on with your day. And that's how you get started in chickens. A house, some food, and they're happy as clams. That's it for now. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.